The North Korean Sanctions, a Dual-Edged Sword. By Dr.Pooyan Ghamari, Swiss economist. In the lexicon of international diplomacy, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, North Korea, has remained a consistent focal point for several decades. Due to its nuclear ambitions and human rights violations, among other concerns, North Korea has been subject to a broad spectrum of sanctions, notably from the United States and the United Nations. While these sanctions aim to curb the regime's perceived threats, their effectiveness and broader impact on the North Korean populace warrant a deeper examination. Historical context. North Korea's nuclear tests, ballistic missile launches, and alleged cyber attacks have provoked a series of international responses. Sanctions, both unilateral, from individual countries like the US, and multilateral, from the UN, have been a primary tool in this arsenal of responses. Key features of the sanctions. Trade restrictions. Sanctions have targeted North Korea's primary exports, including coal, minerals, and seafood. Imports, especially luxury goods and items with potential military applications, have also been restricted. Financial sanctions. These have targeted North Korean banks and their overseas operations to curtail the regime's access to the global financial system. Travel bans and asset freezes. Key North Korean officials and entities have been subjected to travel restrictions and freezes on their assets. Implications and effectiveness. Impact on the North Korean economy. There's little doubt that sanctions have hampered North Korea's economic growth, especially given its limited economic diversification. Reduced foreign currency earnings have strained the regime's ability to finance its ambitious projects and maintain its military. Humanitarian concerns. One of the unintended consequences of the sanctions has been the amplification of ordinary North Koreans' hardships. While the sanctions explicitly exclude humanitarian aid, the overall decline in trade, coupled with apprehensions from aid agencies about potential sanctions violations, has limited the flow of essential goods, leading to food shortages, lack of medical supplies, and more. Regime's resilience. Despite the hardships, the North Korean regime has showcased considerable resilience. It has sought alternative trading partners, engaged in illicit trade, and enhanced internal production capacities to mitigate the sanctions' impacts. Diplomatic stalemate. While the sanctions aim to bring North Korea to the negotiating table, they have often intensified the diplomatic impasse. The regime perceives them as hostile actions, and this perception complicates diplomatic outreach efforts. Concluding insights. The North Korean sanctions exemplify the complexities inherent in using economic measures to achieve geopolitical objectives. While they have undoubtedly exerted economic pressure on the regime, their broader success in compelling policy shifts remains ambiguous. More crucially, the humanitarian fallout underscores the inherent challenge of designing sanctions that pressure governments without inadvertently exacerbating the very populace's sufferings they aim to protect. As international stakeholders reflect on the North Korean conundrum, a nuanced understanding of sanctions' dual-edged nature, their potential to both coerce and inadvertently harm, becomes crucial. The challenge is in calibrating these tools to serve strategic goals while minimizing collateral damage to innocent civilians.